Have you ever dreamed about a cosmic vacation? Imagine spending a weekend in zero gravity, an extended stay on the moon, or maybe even a month on Mars. With outstanding technological advancements and the privatization of space travel companies, humanity is closer to space tourism than ever before. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the future of commercial space travel and what it means for humanity at large. But before we begin, make sure to subscribe to Sky's TL and hit the bell icon for notifications. Now, let's get into the video. Space travel has always been a dream shared by many people across the world. Humanity has been extremely curious about what extraordinary experiences might lie beyond our planet ever since we first became aware of our place in the universe. The commercialization of space travel has bred a new kind of space race as private companies compete to dominate this emerging market and launch everyday citizens into outer space. In the last 5 years alone, there's been a boom of private space enterprises offering suborbital space trips that are not exclusively for research or scientific purposes. There are some really beautiful advantages that come with this emerging industry of casual space travel. One of the most obvious being the average person getting the opportunity to explore the final frontier. It's also critical to conquering space in order to ensure humanity's survival. It can be very inspiring for the masses to see those brave and financially capable enough take steps to push our current understanding about space forward and advance the technologies that make traveling to space possible in the first place. Another outstanding benefit would be providing humanity with a new point of view. Literally, many astronauts who have been to space have commented on how seeing the Earth from space changed their view of the world. Imagine what could happen if we were to start sending powerful business owners and political leaders into space and back. It could potentially influence the decisions they make on border disputes, pollution, climate change, or other major national and international issues. As much as we've stargazed and fantasized about space, the journey to the stars as an everyday person is still a widely unattainable experience. Casual space travel is currently only accessible to an ultra-wealthy few. You are probably familiar with several billionaire-funded spaceflight companies like Elon Musk's SpaceX, Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin, or Sir Richard Branson's Virgin Galactic. These mega-rich entrepreneurs between them have a net worth of almost $500 billion, making the ultra-wealthy key players in the progression of commercial spaceflight. Until the early 2000s, when companies like Blue Origin and Virgin Galactic began to emerge, government-funded space agencies, including NASA and the European Space Agency, held a monopoly over space travel, research, and development. As federal funding to these programs dwindled over the years, these agencies increasingly looked to the private sector to help fund and even lead the development of progressive technologies for spaceflight purposes. Although the spaceflight industry is still heavily dependent on individual governments for the allocation of funds, adventurous billionaires such as Musk, Bezos, and Branson have been there to spare some change when needed. In the last 15 years alone, commercial activity in space has more than tripled, growing from a $110 billion industry in 2005 to a nearly $357 billion industry at the tail end of 2020. Commercial spaceflight in 2020 accounted for about 80% of the estimated $447 billion global space economy that year. Investment bank company Morgan Stanley predicts that within the next 20 years, the industry will rocket in value to more than $1 trillion, with growth specifically happening in the commercial spaceflight sector. In the past year alone, there have been a record number of investments, totaling almost $4 billion, made by as many as 120 venture capitalist firms into some of the private space companies mentioned. There are some concerns, however, that this shift from government-funded space programs to privately owned ones will bring issues surrounding property rights and resources. If one of these private space programs discovers a new mineral on the face of Mars, is that a win for humanity or a win for a wealthy company? This is a justifiable concern, as the nature of business and capitalization is sometimes at odds with the benefit of humanity as a whole. We will just have to cross that bridge when we come to it. In addition to being a very financially promising industry, spaceflight itself is an extremely expensive experience experience, both for the company and for the people wanting to be shot up into space. SpaceX CEO and ultra-billionaire Elon Musk has often said that the launch cost of a single Falcon 9 rocket is $62 million alone. While this may not be a steep price for a man whose net worth is over $200 billion, it's still a heavy cost nonetheless to shoot just 3 or 4 people into the stratosphere. Virgin Galactic's Sir Richard Branson offers those willing to pay a place in space aboard one of his company's crafts, the VSS Enterprise, for $200,000. At this price, you would be able to be a bona fide astronaut and join a crew on a journey beyond our atmosphere. Amateur space travelers can experience the weightlessness of zero gravity while gazing back down at our home planet. While regular flights aren't quite ready for takeoff at the present moment, space travel enthusiasts can add their name to a wish list with just a $20,000 down payment. Commercial spaceflight ventures began to make global headlines in 2021 when SpaceX launched 2 station missions, the Crew 2 and Crew 3, and the Inspiration 4, which was the first all-civilian mission to orbit Earth. The Inspiration 4 team included a teacher, a cancer survivor, a raffle winner, and an internet entrepreneur. The Inspiration 4 mission left the Kennedy Space Center out of one of the company's Dragon capsules, placed atop a Falcon 9 rocket. This mission was incredibly significant because it demonstrated that 4 regular people who weren't formally trained astronauts could travel to and from space successfully. Because of the vast amount of funding the spaceflight industry is currently receiving, it's looking to be a very promising market that less wealthy people might get to take part in. However, the stage that commercial space travel is at right now still heavily depends on the ultra-powerful and ultra-wealthy. The main focus for the foreseeable future is to bring the price down to something that average people can afford. The economics of the space travel industry is a little complicated, but to explain it as simply as possible, imagine this. It's 1980-something and somebody is looking to buy a cell phone. That cell phone is the hottest and newest technology on the market and it costs $5,000. Somebody somewhere is willing to pay that price for that technology, but eventually more people started to buy it, so it became more widespread. Over time, the cost to produce that bit of technology eventually reached a point where most people can access it for a fairly reasonable price. The same logic can be applied to the cost of space travel, more or less. The average person will eventually be able to afford a suborbital trip into space, although it's hard to predict how low the cost will drop and exactly what affordable means in this instance. In order to make space tourism more affordable, spacecraft manufacturers would need to figure out a way to create a craft that is efficient and reusable. Space travel companies would also need to figure out how to get supplies to their extraterrestrial customers as quickly and as cheaply as possible. Current ventures take a lot of resources and time. Having a system as efficient and streamlined as, say, the airline industry would take a lot of time and cooperation between multiple groups, companies, and countries. Another challenge with the commercialization of space travel is predicting the potential negative effects it would have on the environment. One just cannot predict what the market will be like once more people are able to access it. In all this, one thing remains certain. Space tourism is the future. As more and more people are able to visit space for leisure and tourism purposes, a future beyond our own planet seems to loom on the horizon. The possibilities are truly endless with the dawn of this new industry. Do you think you would ever want to take one of these space tourism flights? Let us know down in the comment section below, and if you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to Skies TL and hit the bell icon to be notified whenever we post new content. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.